Good morning. It's Dale and Easter Monday here coming up for midday. Rather a blustery day outside, I have to say, following on from those 3 beautiful days that we've been blessed to have. I just wanted to follow up on my post of, I think it was the 11th that I put a post up. I'm just going to have a quick squiz at that again. No, sorry, the 9th of April. Where I drew your attention to a wee unexpected hiccup, is I think how I termed it, with regards to some of the research that I'm undertaking at present as I work through the roles, cross-referencing to the Ancestrylibrary. So the purpose of this video today is to just give you a very brief idea of what it is and why I am doing it. In other words, what it is that I'm doing and why I am doing it. And then we'll deal with these pitfalls that I spoke about afterwards. Now, I will be focusing mainly on the details column today of the second NZEF role, which is the soldiers and nurses role. Although the details column also has relevance to the other forces role, but I have not yet got onto that and will not be doing so for some time. So presently I've worked my way through around about, well I'm through to around about, I think it's the COs, so not very far advanced, and we're talking probably, I don't know, maybe 3 months work there. Not solid, just every now and then I'll pop in and spend an hour or two working through the role, and I'm up to about the COs at present. So I figure that there's a good 12 months work at least ahead of me in getting the second NZEF role updated as I would like it updated, and also the other forces role. And so you may be asking, well, hang on, but so what do you mean getting it updated? I thought it was pretty complete. Well, it was. It was until I found out that I actually had access, or have been able to access the Ancestrylibrary via the Auckland Public Library system, and at no cost to myself. But prior to that, yes, the information to be found in the details column was drawn from a huge variety of sources. Some were official, some unofficial, and I won't go into the whys and wherefores of those now. If you should visit the website, some of those sources are listed on the homepage of the website. But they are diverse, and up until around about January of this year, I considered that details column to be very, very well padded out. What I'm now doing, though, is improving on that even further, despite the fact that some of the information that's to be found in Ancestrylibrary, as with all genealogical sites, I might add, can be notoriously unreliable at times. So it's been a little bit of a balancing act, as usual for me. Some of the information I've gone on there, seen that it's totally and absolutely incorrect, and totally discarded it. But that which I think is relevant and more likely to be on the button, then I have included it, with the caveat that anything that I give here is done so as a research aid, and I'm talking about now in the details column, is done as a research aid, and you must take it at face value because of that. So the sort of information that we're likely to glean as a result of accessing Ancestrylibrary, information that I might add was unavailable from free access to other genealogical sites, including, I might add, ancestry.com. I've actually been able to go in and actually view the trees themselves. Now, as I say, some of these have been very, very poorly presented, and it's necessary really to go down a level or two to make sure that the information you've got, or that you're going to extract, is reliable as it can be. But it becomes particularly useful when, for example, if in the details column you may have the name of a next of kin. You might have Mr. and Mrs. K. Busby, and then it might give an address, okay, and that's it. You may have some source for that information. It might have been genie.com maybe, okay, and if that person had not yet reached 100 years of age, you'd be unable to undertake any sort of search on the birth record for that person. At some point in the future you might be able to do that, but at this point in time you can't. And of course that person may have been born overseas as well, in which case you're not going to be able to undertake a search through any sort of birth records here in New Zealand. So this is where the likes of something like Ancestrylibrary can become very valuable. And so far, I would say I've had around about probably an 80 to 90% hit rate, where I've been able to at least provide a little more information, at least, sometimes quite a lot, but a little more information with regards each and or nearly each and every entry. So instead of, say, son of Mr. and Mrs. K. Barton, we might now be able to enter son of Kelvin James Allen and Mary Mabel Allen, née Fitzpatrick, for example. So we've got a full fleshing out of the Christian names, and we've also got the mother's maiden name. We may also find on that ancestry record spousal details. So you may have, usually you will just have the family name of the spouse. Sometimes that will be the spouse's married name. Sometimes it will be a maiden name, and of course in some instances it will be a de facto a partner. Is that the term used for it now? A partner anyway. And that is information we may not have had. We may have had some information about it, we may not have had it all. We may not have had a place of birth, or in fact a place of death. So immediately we've been able to flesh out just that little bit more information about that individual, which enables any researcher or any family member going in there trying to find out a little bit more about this particular person, just to be absolutely sure. We'll give them some degree of surety that they're looking at the correct person, because there could be 2 or 3 George Alfred Browns floating around. Then providing this additional information gives them that little bit of added surety. But it also has a flow-on effect, because if you, for example, with regards to parental details, if you now have the full name of the parents, you may find, hello, I've come across these people before somewhere, and sure enough, earlier on there's an entry for someone else of the same surname, perhaps a brother, but you didn't know that there was that familial connection. So now you have 2 entries that you can now place on the familial role. Now it goes without saying that any information that's to be found in the in the details column is also transposed through to the Maori battalion role and the nurses role where relevant, so that they're always in sync with each other. So that's, I just wanted you to be aware of that situation. Now what I intend to do, and I've already started to create 2 or 3 more columns, and you might think, good God, 40 columns, is that not enough? But I've actually put these in just to make it a little bit easier to zero in on some of that essential information. And those 3 columns will be spousal details, place of birth, place of death, and I will remove that information from the details column in due course. It just makes it a little bit more readable and a little bit less clumsy in terms of all of the information that's accessed in the details column. So important, as I say. I think important for the purposes of research, and also it's going to tidy up the roles that little bit more. In due course, I will need to do a little bit of updating of the website to reflect the changes that have been made. Thing is, we're only now around about, as I say, we're up to, I think, the CO, so probably a good 12 months work ahead of me to finish this exercise, and then to get on and do the other forces role as well, which is a lesser role, as you know. So at least 12 months work, I figure. Now, in the post that I put up, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory, and somebody come up with the idea that, hey, look, oh, well, before I get on to that, let me just, perhaps I should just restate the little hiccup that's about to arise. Now, as I say, to date, I've been able to access the Ancestrylibrary for free from home through the Auckland Public Library's website. As from the 23rd of June, Ancestry has announced that it's going to change the way that such access can be made available, and it will no longer be by username password, which is of course what I'm using at present in order to get into the Auckland Library website and then through to Ancestry, but it will be by way of unique IP address. And to date, of course, most of what Ancestry, most of the access is by way of IP address. It's only the few people who would have been accessing this site from home. Now, so I'm left with a couple of choices come that date. There's one that I go up to the public library on foot and spend the odd hour or two up there as and when I'm able to get access to their computer, and copy everything onto a disk and then come back and recopy it back onto my computer, and away we go down around the mulberry bush with that. No guarantee that, of course, that I will get access to the computer. There is wasted time spent in going to and from the library, particularly if it's on an almost daily basis. And at best, I probably only get in an hour or two a day in at any one time on the days that I can make it there. So I think, we could, at that rate, it could take me 2 or 3 years to get through the list, as opposed to 12 months if I was able to continue doing it at home. But in order to do it at home, that would in future involve an expense. Normal charge for membership to Ancestry is roughly, and I'm speaking very rough terms, around about $300 a year. As some group members have drawn my attention to the fact that on occasions Ancestry makes special offers, and you may be able to get in a bit cheaper than that. And of course I would be looking out to do that if that was the case. But it's a not insubstantial amount of money, something that really I just can't afford to pay out at present, particularly given that I'm spending somewhere around, I would say, $300 a year just to keep that website up and running, and have been doing this for the last 7 or 8 years, and that's going to continue well into the foreseeable future. So I just didn't know whether to just cut everything off come that date in June. The problem with that, of course, is that you do have a top-heavy role. You've got, the first fifth or something of the alphabet that's got a lot more information packed in the details column than you have in the rest of the role, and that wouldn't sit terribly easily with me. A couple of members have suggested that I, invite donations, and I was a little bit loath to do that to start with, but they did make the point, and I think it is a very valid point, that the information is not for me. It's I derive no benefit from any donations whatsoever, and I've never actually asked for any to date. But certainly, if anyone is in a position to be able to make a donation, you know, of whatever they can afford, that will help immeasurably for me to continue providing the service that I think you all deserve here, and that I'd like to see the people of Northland have. In fact, it's no longer a Northland resource, as I think I've said before, it's really a New Zealand resource. I'm very happy to put in you know, a fair amount of my time to continue down this track, and as I say, I wouldn't do it if I didn't think it was important. But it's just another expense that really I can ill afford to meet. So I will do, as some people have suggested, I will put a little bit of a post up later, maybe tonight, and I will include in that post my bank account details, and if anybody would like to make some sort of contribution to meet the cost of that Ancestry Library membership, hey, that would be very, very much appreciated. In the event that I got a little bit more than I needed, that money, I assure you, would be used to defray the costs of keeping that website up and running. So all for the public good there, and I thank you very much. Some have already said that they would be happy to donate, and I thank you very much for that. So I'll have that up a little bit later today, and thank you for taking the time to watch this. I tried not to make it too long for you, just really to give you a little bit of an overview. What I will do, well down the track, when I'm getting close to finishing this exercise, I will go in and give you a little bit of a walkthrough of the sorts of things that I encountered in the Ancestry Library, and how I how I've gone about addressing these. It is some of the information had to be discounted right off the bat. It was unreliable, totally unreliable, but some of it certainly has proven to be, or will prove to be, very valuable for you, I'm sure. So thank you again. Enjoy what's left of Easter weekend, and I look forward to touching base in due course again with you. Thank you. Keep those contributions coming into the group. And for those of you that, as yet, haven't had the opportunity to go and take a look at the roles, be aware that most of those can be downloaded from the homepage of the Freedom's Call website, and a link to that website you'll find here in the group. So thank you again, and talk soon. Bye for now.